Anna had always been adventurous. She loved traveling, exploring new places, and pushing herself beyond her comfort zone. When she met Jake, he seemed like the perfect match: fun, spontaneous, and just as passionate about adventure as she was. So when he suggested a romantic getaway to a remote island, she didn't hesitate. She had no idea he had other plans. The ultimate betrayal. The trip started perfectly. White sand beaches, crystal clear water, and a private resort away from the world. It felt like paradise. They spent their days lounging in the sun, swimming in the warm ocean, and dining under the stars. It was the kind of trip people dream about. Then, on their third day, everything changed. Jake woke up distant, cold. He barely spoke to her. She asked if something was wrong, but he brushed her off. "I just need space," he said. She thought he meant a few hours. Instead, when she returned from a morning swim, he was gone. Not just gone, vanished. His luggage was missing. His phone was disconnected. And worst of all, he had canceled their hotel reservation, leaving her with no money, no passport, and no way off the island. She was stranded. At first, she didn't believe it. Maybe it was a mistake. Maybe he was testing her. But the longer she waited, the more the reality sank in. He had abandoned her. She ran to the hotel reception, demanding answers. The staff looked at her with pity. "Your reservation was canceled," the manager said. "Your partner left this morning." Her heart pounded. "But he wouldn't just leave," she stammered. The manager gave a sympathetic nod. "I'm sorry, miss, but he did." She felt the blood drain from her face. She was alone, and she had no idea what to do next. Fighting to survive panic set in fast. She had no money, no working phone, and no idea how to get home. She searched her bag, hoping she had at least a little cash. Nothing. Jake had made sure of that. The realization made her knees weak. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't a mistake. He had planned this. Her first instinct was to break down, to cry, to scream, to beg for help. But Anna wasn't the kind of woman who broke easily. She had always been a problem solver, and this time, the problem was survival. She walked through the island's small town, looking for help. Most places refused her. Without money, they saw her as a lost tourist, not their problem. She spent hours walking under the scorching sun, her stomach growling with hunger. The weight of the situation pressed on her chest like a boulder. Finally, she found a small cafe where the owner took pity on her. "You can work here for a few days," he offered. "Help clean, and you can use the Wi-Fi and eat." It wasn't much, but it was something. For 3 days, Anna scrubbed tables, washed dishes, and did whatever she could to earn her way back home. She barely slept. She barely ate. But she didn't stop. One night, exhausted and curled up on a bench behind the cafe, she overheard 2 tourists talking. They were heading back to the mainland the next morning. A plan formed in her mind. She approached them cautiously and explained her situation. At first, they were skeptical, but when she showed them the last bit of money she had earned, just enough for a ferry ride, they agreed to let her tag along. The next morning, she left the island behind. She had survived, but she wasn't done yet. The perfect revenge. It turned out Jake had a habit of disappearing on women. Anna wasn't his first victim, just the first who fought back. She started with social media, warning others about his tactics. At first, she thought no one would believe her. Then the messages started pouring in. Dozens of women came forward. He had done the same thing to them, lured them on trips, drained their money, and abandoned them in foreign places. This wasn't just betrayal, it was a pattern. Anna didn't stop at exposing him online. She reached out to journalists, investigators, and even legal experts. It turned out Jake had left behind more than just broken hearts. He had committed fraud, stolen identities, and evaded debt collectors. The more she dug, the more she found. Her story went viral. Jake's employers saw it. His family saw it. His entire life collapsed overnight. Then came the police. And for the first time, Jake was the one who had nowhere to run. Anna wasn't just a survivor. She was the woman who made sure no one else suffered like she did.